I'd like to believe that even in today's fucked up world, there's still some good men out there. Fortunately, I've been able to meet some. We're going to talk about what it means to be a man. I know that word is a lot of controversy, and there's a lot of misconceptions about what it means to be a man. We've got a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of people on the internet that think they know what it means to be a man. They talk about what it means to be a man. They think they're badasses. They think because they've got big muscles or fancy cars or big guns that makes them a man. Or they've got a lot of money or Instagram followers. And I think a lot of these guys are leading people astray. I think a lot of these guys are manipulating people. And you guys all know who I'm talking about. The Dan Bilzerians, the Wes Watsons, the Andrew Tates of the world. The guys that are really loud, that want to show off the cars, want to show off their women, that want to show off their jewelry. And they think that's what being a man is. Well, I think being a man is it can't really be defined in one sentence. I think that I think there's a lot to be said for it. So I'm going to tell you what I think a man is. I think a man is someone that's capable. And what I mean by capable is somebody that's able to get things done, to handle problems, to handle challenges. Somebody that doesn't allow himself to get knocked off his center too long. When he does get knocked off, he gets back pretty quickly. I think a man is a man that knows his limitations. He's humble enough to understand that he doesn't know everything, that he's not knowledgeable on everything, and so there's knowledge that he doesn't possess. There's skill sets that he doesn't possess. But he also understands what his skill sets are, where his expertise is, and where it starts and where it finishes. I think a man is somebody that has humility. A man is somebody that can admit that they're wrong when they're wrong, and not just double down on whatever it is that they say or do because their ego gets in the way. We've all had moments of greatness. We've also had moments of shame. And it's in those moments of shame when, you know that you fucked up. You know that you wronged somebody. You know that you didn't present yourself the best way that you could have. You need to be a man and admit it. And look at yourself and really make an effort to do better. I think a man is someone that's strong, you know. And strong isn't just being physically strong, although it's definitely part of it. Being strong in terms of, I mean, I think physical strength is the first part of it. Because without physical strength, it's really hard to be strong in a lot of other ways. It's really hard to stand up for what you believe in if you don't think of yourself as a physically strong individual. But I think standing up for yourself is a part of being strong, is part of being a man. I think being able to do difficult things that are painful but need to get done. You know, if you're growing up in the Midwest, getting up at 6 in the morning and shoveling the driveway so that your kids can get to school and walk to the you know, where the bus picks them up, that's strong. Getting up early in the morning and going and working a full day's worth of work, that's strong. Getting to the gym when you're sore and you don't want to work out, but you know that it's leg day or whatever, that's being strong. I think a man is somebody that is reliable. You know, somebody that is capable and willing and able and trustworthy enough to be privy to secrets, to be privy to private information that they're not gonna go and tell the whole world. You know, a man that you can trust with your possessions, a man that you can trust with important things. You know, I had to leave. I left for about 3 weeks at one point, and I was able to leave some stuff with somebody. Just some personal items that I didn't want in my house when I wasn't there to keep my gleams on it. I was able to give it to a friend. I came back and everything was intact. You know, that's part of being reliable. And reliability and trustworthiness go hand in hand. You know, integrity is part of being a man, doing what you say you're going to do. Being honest, being truthful, being loyal. But not only being loyal, loyalty is another one, part of being a man. But not just loyal to your friends and family, but loyal to what you believe in. Right or wrong. You know, somebody that doesn't just change with the wind. Somebody that knows right from wrong, standing on the side of right. It's about being a man. And this goes in with physical strength, but you know, knowing how to handle business when it gets down and dirty, when somebody is threatening you, or threatening your loved ones, or your friends, your family, whatever. You know, because a lot of times people don't argue with others because they're afraid of getting into a physical altercation. But when you're confident in your ability to defend yourself, your ability to stand up for what you believe in goes up. And you carry a certain energy with yourself that lets other people know. You don't even need to say it, that you know something. You've got a certain ability, a certain skill set. And then just respect. Respect is a big one. A real man respects himself. And if you respect yourself, then you respect others. Because there's no reason not to respect other people unless they get out of line. And respect is just the hallmark of relationships. It's the hallmark of having a civil society. Even a stranger, we should treat them with a baseline level of respect until proven otherwise. I think, one of the things that I really want to talk to is that a real man to me is somebody that lives life on his own terms. Somebody that doesn't domesticate himself into conforming what society wants him to be. And you see a lot of this. And you especially see this with men when it comes to women. How often have we seen a guy that, he starts dating a girl and all of a sudden he starts changing the way he talks. He starts changing his opinions on things. That's not being manly. That's going with whatever the woman wants. You always have to walk your own path. You have to live life by your own terms. You can't just switch it up because a woman wants, things a certain way. This whole 50-50 thing in relationships, I think, is bullshit. There's no such thing as a 50-50 business relationship. Neither is there in relationships. When the rubber meets the road and shit hits the fan and things get real and decisions have to be made, there has to be somebody that has the final say. Because sometimes there are situations where nobody wants to make the call. Nobody wants to go down with the ship, go down as the one that made the wrong call. But someone's got to make the call. You need to be living life on your own terms, and you need to be living on your own principles, what you believe is right, to the best of your understanding, to the best of your ability. It's very important. And women test you in all little ways to see how much you really respect yourself and how strong you really are, I would say, as a soul. Like, what's the deepest core of strength is not getting knocked off your path, not getting knocked off your center. It's just like martial arts. If somebody can off balance you, they can throw you. If they can throw you, they can mount you. If they can mount you, they can submit you. They can do whatever they want with you. So you have to not let a woman knock you off your center. Now, there's all little ways from the jump that women try to test you. I'll give you one. Let's say you don't want to do the whole social media bullshit with the Instagram and the TikTok. Like, you want to meet a woman naturally. You want to meet a woman organically. So you're in the supermarket. You see a girl in the pasta aisle. You go down there. You talk to her. You feel a vibe. You're obviously attracted to her. She seems somewhat receptive to. She seems receptive enough to you. So after the short conversation, you got to get rolling, and you ask for her number. And she says, "I don't give out my number." But you can have my Instagram, and you say, now a man that's weak in that exact situation will say, okay. He'll get her Instagram, and then he'll start playing her game. Right? She already got him to move off of his center. He said that he doesn't want to use these things. He wants to meet a woman organically. Well, if that's really true, then the way that that looks is when you say, you know what? I'm not a social media guy. You know, it's not my style. I'd rather get to know somebody, you know, organically. So you want to talk on the phone, you know, see if there's a vibe. You know, you can give me your number. I'll call you. We'll chat for a bit, see if there's something there. If not, I'll just keep on walking. And one of two things is going to happen. Either she's going to say, all right, see ya. I think it's weird that you won't give me your Instagram, okay? Another girl's going to say, I like that. It's old school, but I like that. Yeah, here's my number. Call me. The point is that it's got to be your decision. It cannot be hers. You have to lead the interaction. She has to enter your frame. Another one is you pick her up, you start talking, and you tell her you're a vegan. And she says, you know, there's a steakhouse, I really want to go to it. It's a really nice place. I would love to go here. A weak guy will say, yeah, let's go. We'll figure something out. Let's get a baked potato or whatever. See, that's a test because, see, if you're a vegan, why the hell would a girl demand to go to a steakhouse? Or vice versa. The strong man would say, you know what? I'm vegan. There's not going to be much for me to get there. Let's go somewhere else. How about this Italian spot? This Greek spot, whatever. What? No, shit. When you truly walk your own path, you're going to attract certain people in your life that really respect that about you and admire it, because it really is rare. You know, most people are doing the 9-to-5 bullshit. They're doing the mainstream shit. They watch football on Sundays. They talk about the game. They come home. They watch the 6 o'clock news. They doom scroll, whatever. They take their little bullshit 2-week vacation that they give them. You know, maybe they go to the clubs on a Saturday. They listen to, you know, the mainstream music. When you start to live your own way, you only dance to your own tune, it becomes undeniable. It's unique. It's different. It's genuine. You truly become your own man. You know, what that looks like is, you know, based on your financial capabilities, you live as close to how you want to as possible. You want to live in a house? high rise, you live in a high rise. You want to live in a city, you live in a city. You want to live in a more rural area, you go rural. You want to live on the East Coast, you live on the East Coast. The West Coast, you live on the West Coast, right? You drive what kind of car you want to drive. Dress how you want to dress. You wear your hair the way you want to wear it. You do the activities that you want. And you're doing all this for you. You're not doing it because you think some girl's going to be impressed, or that, you know, it'll help make people like you or whatever. I'm not saying that all that shit isn't a factor in why people do what they do, but in the self-actualized man, it's less important. It may still play a role, but it's far from the only role. It's not the biggest role. Yeah, everything that you really do is about you. You know, being a man is about understanding history, understanding the world, understanding serious things, reading, keeping up to date with world events, not just hoping for the best. And although I know it's hard, because that can become a distraction. It's tough to, you know, be up to date and knowledgeable, but not get sucked into the distractions, for sure. You know, but in this sick world, where we have people that conflate who they are with their social media persona, they often conflate these things of who they really are and who their persona is. You know, and I get it. You know, we're going to show up a little bit differently at work than we would with our friends. We're going to show up a little different with our family than our friends. We're going to show up with a girl we're just getting to know differently than a friend we've been friends with for 20 years. You know, I'm not naive about these things. But there's the core of the man that shows up in all of these different areas in life. Like, there are constants that all these people should say about this man. They all have in common in what they see in him, despite you showing up differently depending upon who you're engaging with. You know, when I think about what it means to be a man, is I think it was somebody that just doesn't go with the crowd. Doesn't just go out because everyone else is going out. Doesn't just drink because everybody else is drinking. You know, somebody that really walks their own path. You know, abides by their own rules, and doesn't allow other people to get you off course. Get you off course. You know, but we've got a lot of guys out there that are just absolutely terrible role models that, you know, and especially they're leading a lot of volatile people astray. You know, telling people that, you know, you got to drive a Bugatti and have 1 million followers on Instagram and be fucking an OnlyFans girl, you know. And if you're not doing that, then you know, then you're a loser. You're a piece of shit. You're a nobody. Let me tell you something. These same pieces of shit that say that, intrinsically, they don't really do anything good for society. Wes Watson isn't helping society. Andrew Tate's not helping society. They're making money selling bullshit programs where, you know, a few people get rich and everybody else is really just struggling. You know, and the thing is that if your house is burning down and you have a family, that fireman is going to be a lot more of a fucking asset than Andrew Tate. You know, God forbid somebody gets shot and the ambulance gets called and the EMTs are trying to revive somebody or, you know, address somebody's wounds. They're a hell of a lot more valuable than Wes Watson is. Him yelling and screaming at you and telling you that, you know, you're not making enough money or that you're not ripped enough. So, you know, men need to be valuable, they need to be reliable, they need to be dependable, responsible, effective. Come here. They need to be strong, they need to be capable. And, you know, you should ask yourself, you know, are these guys that you look up to on social media, or do they embody all this shit? They embody all these things? And if the answer is no to most of them, I mean, maybe some people are lacking in a certain few, but these are the core. If these guys only have a few of them, then I would really reconsider the amount of respect that you give them. Yeah, I'll tell you something. You find out who a real man is when you really need him. You know, somebody could be really big and strong and intimidating and, you know, has all the physical characteristics of a man, the tattoos, the big muscles, the car, you know, the outward confidence, whatever. When you really need something, does that person show up? Would you even rely on them? Would you trust them? Would you think of them as a reliable person enough to where you would even call them and give them the opportunity? You know, if they came to you and wanted to borrow money from you, would you do it? Would you really believe they'd pay you back? And if shit went down and you needed help, would they be there? You know, do they respect other people? Are they honest in business? You know, are they there? Are they where they say they're going to be when you make plans? Or do they not pick up the phone because they found something better to do? You know, a lot of times the most arrogant, loudest people really lack any peace. They lack any real self-esteem, any real confidence. So they need it all validated by their followers. That's another thing. People that need followers are people that need validation. And that's not being a real man. Wes Watson, that's what he does. In particular, Wes Watson, that's the guy that does that. A lot of the manliest men that there are, you don't know who they are. You wouldn't know their names. You wouldn't know who they were. You don't know what they do. But when it comes down to it, they're the motherfuckers that you want on your side. They're solid, they're sharp, they're capable. And so what we all really should do, in my opinion, I'm going to end this soon, is we should strive to be just the manliest people that we can. But what a real man is, not the macho bullshit. And again, guys, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, having a badass car or, working out. I'm all for that. I'm for having a badass car. I'm for working out. I'm for having guns. I'm for having badass dogs and, having an attractive old lady by your side. But guys, if everything you're doing is for all that stuff, then I think you're missing the point. I think by being a strong, virtuous, honorable, capable man, all those things are just a byproduct of it. You make money, you're successful in an honorable way, whatever. Go drive what you want, go dress how you want, go invest in the activities and the skills that you want to cultivate. And raise hell, rip and roar. But guys, you don't need to be like these loud motherfuckers, these social media idiots who have conflated their own personas with who they really are. The Dan Bilzerians, the Wes Watsons are not going to be there for you when you need them. And the people that need them in their life probably won't be calling them either. So really think about who you want to be. This generation needs it, that's for sure.